Hello again everyone and welcome back along to the channel. It is almost time, and by the time you guys get this video, we will only be about 1 day away from test match number 1 between the Lions and the All Blacks. So this is my little preview of the first test. The teams were named about a day ago from when I'm recording this, so we have a full team for both sides to have a look at who will be taking the field in that first matchup, and of course what I think is going to happen. So we're going to have a bit of a look at the sides named, a bit of a look at how I think the two sides are going to play, and then of course ultimately what my prediction will be for that first test between the All Blacks and the Lions. So let's get into it. Let's have a look at the two teams that have been named for the All Blacks and the Lions. First things first, Eden Park, the venue, of course, we'll have a look at the All Blacks, the home team for this first test match and the whole series, of course, obviously. Okay, so we'll start things off in the forward pack, as we always do. The front row and pretty much the whole pack, I think, is extremely predictable. It's exactly what we thought was going to get picked. It's the Moody, Taylor, and Franks. Obviously, no Dane Coles, not fit for this first test, so he is out. Obviously, that is a no-brainer that he is missing that one. So Cody Taylor obviously takes his spot. Second row, Whitelock and Retallick. No questions there whatsoever. That was pretty predictable as well. Kaino, Kane, and Reed. That is a pretty predictable forward pack, and that is exactly what we expected, bar injury. Obviously, Kieran Reid just coming back to captain the side. Obviously, there was a bit of a 50-50 there, but Reid, at this stage of things, is set to play the match starting at number 8. It's the back line, however, that threw up a couple of interesting little selections, but I think ultimately good selections as well. The halves, no surprise here, Aaron Smith and Beauden Barrett. All you people out there that love TJ Perenara, he's not on the level of Aaron Smith. Not yet, maybe in the future, but not yet. Aaron Smith is just quick, he's controlling, commanding, and he is just one of the best players in the world when he's in good touch. He's been getting better and better this year. Add him into the black jumper, and I think you're going to get the best of Aaron Smith. So I'm pleased to see him there, and of course Beauden Barrett starting at 10. No big surprise there whatsoever at all. Outside him, though, in the centres, this is probably the first one that was a bit of an interesting call. We've got Sonny Bill Williams starting at 12, and Ryan Crotty starting at 13. So a couple reasons here why it's interesting. No Anton Leonard-Brown. That was the first thing that's interesting. But secondly, as I predicted, we will be playing a 12 at 13. I said it in my All Black squad look at video, and there's got to be a 12 playing at 13 in those frontline guys. It was obviously going to be Sonny Bill. Crotty was obviously going to be there if he was fit, and he's been the one selected to go to 13 instead of playing at 12. I don't know if I really mind that too much. I think Anton Leonard-Brown and Sonny Bill Williams are in a bit of a 50-50, but big game player Sonny Bill has got the nod. We've got Anton Leonard-Brown sitting on the bench for this one. Ryan Crotty, hopefully fit enough to play this. I thought he was going to be missing this first test out, but he's come ready and good to go for test match number 1, which is good signs because he is that solid, consistent man in the midfield. They really do need him. The test against Samoa wasn't really a test at all, so we didn't really get to see what those two in midfield are made out of. So really this is going to be a test. Sonny Bill versus Anton Leonard-Brown. Crotty, he's going to play the 13 role, and I expect him to do pretty well because there's not much that Ryan Crotty does wrong in this day and age. So he is a solid, and I expect big things, a big performance out of Sonny Bill, and something to prove from Anton Leonard-Brown off the bench as well. He's been getting better and better this season and fully deserves to be in that spot. Not surprised at all to not see Laumape anywhere near this team at all. So that's pretty much as I thought it was going to happen. On the wings, however, I'm really surprised, although not disappointed, but still surprised that they've gone against almost their favourite child of Julian Savea, who through thick and thin has always made that number 11 jumper. He has finally been ditched. Not that I agree with it or disagree with it. I like the fact they've gone with Rieko Ioane. He's played the Lions already twice, so he knows what they're all about. He played them and won with the Blues, and of course he was amazing in that game versus the Blues as well. But it also gives him a bit more of a mobile option on both wings and a fullback. Their back three is very mobile, very good under high ball, very good at running and attacking, very good still at bulldozing players like Rieko Ioane can do, but very skillful and very agile. And I think you can't really, they're still going to target Rieko Ioane, no question about that, but I think he will probably stand up to the challenge more than a Savea would, because Savea is probably, out of those three that normally start Ben Smith, Israel Dagg, most susceptible to the high ball. And like we're going to talk about soon, the way these teams are going to play, we know the Lions are going to play that 9-man rugby. The 4-pack, Connor Murray kicking, chasing. 4-pack, Murray kick, chasing. Murray kick, chasing. It's all we're going to see all night, that's what I think, but more about that soon. That's probably the core of my Lions pick of tactics right there in that little 30-second spell. But the other players in the team, Israel Dagg, Ben Smith on the wing, and fullback, of course, no surprises there. They're always going to pick Dagg on the wing because of his competence under the high ball. So you got two out-and-out fullbacks here. You've also got Bowden Barrett, who is more than capable at fullback. You've got players like Crotty, who are very good under the high ball. You've got Rieko Ioane, who's going to be tested under the high ball. But I think overall, that is a very good team, and it's shown that the All Blacks, just because it's a Lions test, just because they always want to win, but they still have to get that new talent through. Rieko Ioane is one that they've obviously identified from a very, very early time, a long time ago, that he is going to be a future All Black player, and they've got him in there. They're saying to him, make pressure on you, perform. You want to be an All Black, this is the environment you have to perform in. And we're saying, we back you. We think you're good enough to do the job. They're not throwing Savea out into the dirt. I think he'll be back in another test. Will it be a second or third? Who knows? He's not in the 23 at all. But this is a vote of confidence. Big vote of confidence here to Rieko Ioane. He's got to perform too, because there's no out-and-out cover on the wing, on the bench either. So Anton Lienert-Brown is the only outside back, outside of a 10, that will be able to come onto the bench. So big pressure here on Rieko Ioane, but if he's going to perform at the best level, he's going to become one of the great All Blacks. He's got to perform, and this is a big test. That's the biggest surprise, but I'm all for it. I'm right behind it, and I think Rieko Ioane has already shown he can perform against these Lions. He knows how they played. He's been up against them twice, and I think that has gone a long way to him getting that nod over Julian Savea, who will be fuming, and this is a big chance for him now to come storming back and prove how good he is in that number 11 jumper. So this is a really multi-leveled selection here by the All Black coaches, and it's good to see, but I think this is a very, very good All Blacks team. This is almost the best you'd pick, bar what you do in the midfield and what level Ioane's going to play at. So interesting calls, and really good to see that they're putting confidence in these young players coming through. On the bench is Harris, Crockett, Famuina, Barrett, that's Scott Barrett, Ardie Savea, Perenara, Cruden, and Anton Lienert-Brown. So big pressure on Anton Lienert-Brown if he's got to come on, possibly play the wing. Who knows what's going to happen there, but he's going to be a big factor in this matchup as well. Okay, that's a quick look at the All Blacks team. The home team for the series, of course. Now the visiting side, the Lions. Interesting team they've picked here. Very, very interesting. Their front row is Vunipola, George, and Furlong. I think at the start of the tour, Furlong probably would have been there, but I don't know if Vunipola and George would have been the first choice selections here at 1 and 2. But you've got to credit form there. Vunipola has been very, very good in the matches he's played, as has Jamie George. I think those two have been two of the best front rowers so far in the series. It's in the second row here that I kind of am surprised they have gone with Alun Wyn Jones. Now, he's very experienced, very good player, no question about that, but is he still up to that same standard? George Cruz, he only had to play a couple of games, and you've already seen how good he is at controlling that set piece at the line-out. He commands that area over Alun Wyn Jones. So, kind of surprised that they've gone with Alun Wyn Jones there over the likes of Laws and Atolje sort of players, but I know they do have Atolje on the bench, which I'd imagine would come on for Alun Wyn Jones later on the match. Who knows possibly what they've got up their sleeve. But Cruz definitely is the master behind how that line-out's going to work. In the back row, they have dropped tour captain Sam Warburton to the bench. That means Peter O'Mahony will be captaining the side from number 6 on the blind side flank. Sean O'Brien will start at 7, and it will be no surprises here. Faletau starting at 8. Faletau, by far, by a massive stretch, the best number 8 on tour so far for the Lions. O'Brien, haven't seen too much. I think they're very, very set on those two, Omani and O'Brien, possibly being in that team somewhere. But I think the way Omani's played, the way he's performed, and the fact that they want O'Brien in that team has kind of forced them into their hand of playing Warburton on the bench. Warburton had a decent matchup last time he was out. Not his best, but he definitely did improve. But I think they've kind of been forced into saying, okay, Omani and O'Brien, this is your chance. The two Irishmen, 6 and 7, they are going to be massive. We know what they can do. We all know what they can do. But that is a very, very good pack by the Lions, especially that back row. Very, very good. Very, very strong. Very, very agile as well. They'll be punching holes, smashing rucks like no end. And I expect the likes of O'Brien to be a bit of a nuisance around the field as well, because he can be a very, very good open side flanker. We all know the scrum battle is going to be a massive part of this matchup, and those two forward packs are going to be hotly contested. The Lions will think they've got an edge, and quite possibly they do slightly, but do they get enough of an edge for it to become a weapon for them throughout this first test? That is going to be the first interesting factor. But on to their back line, and this is where we see how the Lions are going to play. One man, Conor Murray, he can decide this series himself. I think Conor Murray has the ability, if given the space, the time, and the plan, can decide this series, let alone this match even at a stretch, you could say. Number 9 is going to be the jumper that determines the winner of this series. Number 9, along with the weather and the ability to take high balls. More on that, of course, with the way that these two teams are going to play. So Conor Murray starts at 9, Farrell at 10. No question marks there after the average form of Sexton, the average player of Dan Biggar, and then just what Farrell did. When he come on off the bench in those games, he changed the match a big time as well. So he's a huge part of how the Lions will play, and he is going to be massive with his partnership with Conor Murray, who is going to be huge as well. Outside of those guys, though, no surprise to see Ben Teo there. I think he's been easily the best attacking weapon in this Lions whole outfit. We have seen no one who has broken the line consistently like him over and over again. He keeps breaking the line, he keeps making forward momentum, and he is a real danger. He is a super danger. So I am not surprised. I'm glad to see him there, because I think definitely he has deserved that number 12 jumper. And I think quickly his form, doubled with the average form of the likes of Sexton, and that has quickly quilled any chance of that 10-12 Sexton Farrell combination. But it's given them a bit of a conundrum as well with the number 13 jumper, with Teo playing so well. He slots in there to that 12, no questions with that. But who really is the best outside centre in this squad? Jonathan Davis has got the nod. He has been good in patches. He has been average in patches as well. It's a real interesting factor. And I think when he's going up against Mr. Consistency solid Ryan Crotty, that could be a real decisive area of the field in the midfield. Sonny Bill's going to have his hands full with Ben Teo. We know Sonny Bill's more attacking player than a defensive player. So Teo has an opportunity here if he could get an incision through that Crotty-Sonny Bill partnership. So that's an area of strength and weakness here for the Lions. Whether we'll see the best of Davis, and whether we'll see Sonny Bill can contain Ben Teo. On the wings, though, another one that's probably an area where they could find a bit of pressure from the All Blacks, and it is Elliot Daly on the left, Anthony Watson on the right. Now, not surprised to see Anthony Watson there, and really not surprised to see Elliot Daly there. Before the tour, I wouldn't have thought any chance of Elliot Daly starting the first test, but their wings have been just terrible. We've seen Jack Noel. Sure, he played alright against that pretty average Chiefs team, but boy oh boy, before that he was terrible throughout, and I think he just completely played himself out of a starting position. Whereas Elliot Daly's consistent. He's like a Ryan Crotty for anyone New Zealand fans watching. He just does his job well. He can kick well, he can create space, he can hold the ball up, he can manoeuvre himself quite nicely as well. He's not out and out speedy, pacey winger, but he's got enough toe to definitely show himself around the outside of a defender given the opportunity, and create a gap and go slicing through it. So a good option, I think a safe option, especially for Gatlin there on his wings. Anthony Watson, we know, is a dangerous player of the ball, but he's up against a very big winger, but that is going to be the battle between Rieko Ioane and Anthony Watson. Now that is going to be huge. I think size is on Riko's side, but I think just that acceleration and that little bit extra of size being less does advantage what Watson can do. But I think this is definitely a much more even matchup than it would have been if it was Savia. You would have had a big man who's going to squash Watson every opportunity he can, but Watson will always beat him to the gun with acceleration and little snipes away from him. So this evens things up a bit. I think this match is man for man a bit better. Watson's going to chase everything down, as will Daly, of course, as all good wingers would do. But I do really like this matchup on the wings. I do think the All Blacks do gain an advantage. I don't think Watson's going to have too much of a get-go over Rieko Ioane, and Daly, again, Israel Dag's a fullback, so he's on now winger either. So Daly versus Dag is going to be a nice matchup. I think Dag should have his number as well, very much. At fullback, though, I think this is where the All Blacks really do gain a good advantage. Liam Williams, last year, sensational, best man in a Welsh jersey. But this tour, he's been a bit hesitant. He's been a bit off his game. Not the best we've seen from him. We've seen glimpses, but he can't have that hesitancy into this first test. He's capable of being a very good fullback and matching up Ben Smith quite well, but if he's not on top of his game, I think there's a chance the All Blacks could run over and target him quite a lot. He's got the nod at fullback over the likes of Halfpenny, again, another area where the Lions haven't really shown their best. A lot of talk for the tour about Liam Williams being picked as a winger, out-and-out winger, because they've got Hogg, they've got Halfpenny, they've got the likes. They've got all these names that can play 15. It only takes one injury in bad form, and your whole game plan is out the window and gone. So that is what has completely changed up. Hogg's injury, I think Hogg had that number 15 jumper for test number 1 before the series began. And despite whatever form he had, he was always going to have that number 15 jumper. His injury has thrown a big spanner into the works. So I think it has thrown a big spanner into the Lions' back line as well. So Liam Williams, not the best, and could be an area that All Blacks could target as well. Because obviously, as we move on to how the team's going to play, I think both teams are going to play a pretty heavy kicking game. Not sure about the weather. A lot of talk that it's going to be crap and rainy and windy and terrible. If that does turn out to happen, it is going to be a kickathon, and it's really going to come down to who can consecutively make mistakes out of their opponent. If the Lions can go bang, a couple of box kicks, penalties, scrums, box kick penalties, it is going to just result in points. We know the Lions are going to look for penalties, they're going to kick penalties, they're going to take points. 3 points, 6 points, 9 points. They're going to just keep ticking them up, How are the All Blacks going to play, though? I'd imagine they'll play kick if they have the opportunity, but they're going to go for tries if the ball is open and free-flowing. That is the difference between two sides. The All Blacks are going to try and always score in 7s. The Lions are going to always try and score in 3s. Goal kicking is going to be huge. Beauden Barrett was really good against Samoa. He nailed just about every kick. I think he missed 1 or 2 in that whole match where they scored a boatload of tries. If he can kick like that, things will be quite nice for the All Blacks. But if he doesn't, if he has his average night, it could mean a lot of points are left out there on the field. We all know Owen Farrell is not going to leave any points out there on the field off the tee. So that's one factor of the game that's going to be huge. But we talked about it already. Conor Murray, we know how he's going to play. He's going to box kick the shit out of everything at every given opportunity he can get. So the All Blacks, they'll know. They've seen the Lions play enough already. They've seen Ireland play enough already. They know what's going to be happening. They know it's going to be box kick after box kick after box kick after box kick. High ball after high ball after high ball. Murray is the master of the box kick. Aaron Smith's kicking game is going to be tested. He's got a very good kicking game if he's on his game. Question marks if he's going to be at his best. Hopefully, you'd imagine he would be, because the matchup between Murray and Smith could be mouth-watering to watch. The All Blacks need to counter this. They need to catch every single high ball, and if they really want to test things here, they need to shut Conor Murray down. If they can shut down his kicking game, put pressure around the breakdown and the rucks, which is going to mean that's where the likes of O'Brien and Stander and Faletau and really Alwyn Jones, everyone in a shirt under 9, is going to have to protect the living hell out of Conor Murray. Because if he gets exploited, if he gets rattled, if he gets a bit in trouble, the All Blacks are going to really try and sack everything they can around it. If they can disrupt his kicking game, that'll go a long way to deciding this matchup. Equally, for the other side of things, if the Lions can disrupt that ball that goes from 9 to 10, Beauden Barrett is key. Will we see that cross-kicking game in the wind and rain? I wouldn't imagine we would see it as much, but if they can shut down that gaps, we've seen them test that offside line and that speed out of the defensive line like nothing else all tour. That is going to be key to them. But considering that, again, if the All Blacks can integrate a little chip and kick over the top of their defensive line tactic, that is going to put the Lions on their heels a little bit, because there is a lot of room in behind that rush defensive line. So that is going to be a tit for tat sort of tactical thing going on. Murray's box kicking, shutting down Barrett, shutting down Murray, kicking over the top of the defensive line. It's going to be whoever executes that plan. This game is going to be decided between 8 and 10 on the two sides. You could even say 1 to 10 if you include the two packs. But I think the back row, 9 and 10, is going to be massive, protecting the breakdown, giving your team quality ball. Fast ball for the All Blacks is massive. If the All Blacks get fast ball as well, that is going to go a long way. The Lions' defensive line can't reset to get going forward again. If they are defending for too long, it will tire them out. And again, that last 20 minutes will come into a big part of this game. There's a lot of factors. I think the Lions have a chance if they can get that box kicking going, and if the All Blacks back three have a terrible night. If they drop a lot of ball, if it is wet and things like that, there is a chance that the Lions will get a lot of points through knock-ons leading to scrums. They'll take drop goals, they'll take penalties, they'll take anything they can. So that is going to be key. Key thing for me in this whole game is Conor Murray and his box kicks. That is going to decide this game. If he's on song, the Lions can win it. If he's not, there's no chance in hell they will win it. The defensive line rushing the All Blacks attack, and how the All Blacks counteract that with a little chip kick sort of tactic over the top that drags them back, that stops them rushing up so quickly. Those two factors are going to decide this match. The set piece, yes, it will be interesting to see how that's decided, but I don't think that it's going to ultimately decide the match. It may result in a few penalties going to the Lions' way, possibly if they can get a head up over it, but it's such a 50-50 thing by the referees, how they're going to judge it, how they're going to rule it. Jaco Piper, referee, so we'll see. They may be a bit more used to him than they were to other referees. He is a bit more of a talker and those sorts of things, but on the other hand, is he going to dish out yellow cards, which I'm really surprised we've only had a couple of yellow cards in this whole tour, and only, I think one of them has only been to a Lions player as well, which is Liam Williams. That really did kill his momentum leading into the tour as well. That one yellow card did kind of kill him off a bit in his attacking of kicks. So that's going to be big, because if we see yellow cards from kicks, you know, Murray's going to be kicking a lot. If the All Blacks can claim that ball and get taken out in the air, then there's going to be yellow cards dished out. That could really hamper their game plan. There's so many factors to go on, but I think ultimately, I've said it already about 5 times, Conor Murray's kicking game and how the All Blacks diffuse the rush defense of the Lions. That's going to be the keys to the game. Winner of those will be winner of the match. Ultimately, though, I think the All Blacks will be too good and they will come out on top. Now, it's going to be close, it's going to be tight, but I just don't think this Lions team is the full-on complete package. They've had a lot of interruptions, they've lost some key players, good players out of form as well, which has really hurt them. And I think the All Blacks team is really set. I was surprised at how little rust they had versus Samoa, but I just think this team has very little holes, and the holes they do have are areas that the Lions would have to branch out of their game plan to exploit. I'm talking the centre partnership on attack. There's not really much that's going to go their way, especially if it's wet. I don't think Ben Teo is going to see much ball at all, which he is really the main attacking threat for this side. So a lot of components to this match that could decide it either which way, but I'm going to go with the All Blacks like I did way back when I first started my prediction. So if you haven't got involved in the Super Rugby League, it's not too late. It may be too late to win it, but you can still have your say into who you think is going to win Test match number 1. Will it be the All Blacks? Will it be the Lions? I'm going to the All Blacks, and I'm going All Blacks by 20. 35-15 final score to the All Blacks. It'll be close. It'll be tight. Don't get me wrong, that scoreline, it will be a blowout. I don't think it'll be a blowout at all. I think you'll be looking at all penalties by the Lions, and you'll be looking at a couple of All Blacks, like even 15-14, a couple of tries to a few penalties at, you know, that's the 50-60 minute mark to the Lions. That's the sort of scoreline I'm looking at. All it take will be another 3 tries or so, give them another 20 points. There we go. 3 tries in the last 15 minutes. There is a 21-point turnaround from 15-14 behind. Turnaround by 21 points will give you a 35-15 scoreline. That's what I think is going to happen. That is how I think it will go. It is going to be a great match. Of course, weather conditions will play a big part. If it is pouring with rain, I would probably click that back by about half and say 25-15 sort of thing. but it could go either way. Both teams definitely capable, but who will take it on the day? Couple of key points. What do you guys all think? Who do you think is going to win? But more importantly, what do you think them key matchups of this game are going to be? Obviously, I've identified mine as number 9. The scrum halves are going to be the key battle between these two teams that could decide this match. But what do you guys think? Who do you think is going to be key? What do you think of the teams by the All Blacks and the Lions? Those, you know, debatable selections. What are your thoughts on those? That is my thoughts on the game. I hope to see you all around for the match, which will be about a day away from when you're watching this video. Do you think the Lions can get the win, or will the All Blacks be too good? I hope to see you all on Twitter as well. Follow me up on there at Cornflake Crib, and you can get involved in some banter for that match. Hopefully there will be plenty going on as well. But until then, thank you for tuning and watching. Hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. Until then, take care.